Hello guys and welcome. It is time to jump into a little bit of that hard PUBG mobile action. My name is DK. Obviously you're on my channel. Welcome if you're new to the channel. I hope you guys enjoy the action we are going to be bringing to the battlefield here today. And of course with me is going to be the ever lovely and awesome Highland Wolf. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, man, today. I'm looking forward to it, to be fair, though. This is my first time since all the way back to 2021 that I get to cast some PUBG Mobile, so it's going to be a fresh one coming in for the PMGC, and I recognize some of these names from PMGC as well.
Yeah, we got teams coming in from PMGC, we got teams coming in from Pmpl, so definitely a really good lineup of teams we've got represented here that are going to be fighting it out for that prize money. So I've got some pretty high expectations. As we know, we've got some heavy, strong competition coming through these lobbies. So I'm expecting some pretty exciting PUBG gameplay to come on in today.
That's for sure. I think especially as we look towards, of course, that format here, DK, I mean, it is going to be that one day and one day only that these teams get to participate in the finals for that $150, which is going to be the prize pool. It's a winners take all situation, so you have to be on top of everyone else. And as we will see, there are some stacked names as we have hyped up, and 3 maps to take us off here for the finals. And we have got, I believe, Erangel, Miramar, Erangel, as you guys should be able to see in just a short moment. DK.
Well, first up, no, but we can't get into the maps just yet. Of course, we got to look at who we have playing today, because we've been talking about the teams, right?
That's true.
So we got to jump in, we got to have a look and see who it is, and of course,
here is. After a month.
You know, we gotta put up the teams. We gotta show everybody who's in here. So we've got Nigma Galaxy, we got the players there from TJB Esports, we got the Black Dragons, we got Giant Gaming, we got the Eastern Stars, the 100, we got NASR Esports, we got Conqueror IRAQ, the fastPay Wildcats, we got Team Myths, we have the FALCON Esports, as well as for Kurdistan, we got SCHOCKWAVE, we got 4 Romanian boys, we got SYR Esports, we got the Storm Gaming, as well as ENLIGTHEN, La Familia, and then of course Nuclear Esports. So some pretty explosive action about to come in on this battlefield.
I believe that's 13 different countries we've got here. It's pretty international when it looks towards all of them. And I think obviously the ones that really stand out to us, as we said, are these kind of PMGC favorites of the TJB Esports. We've also, I think, got the big dogs of South America here representing the Black Dragons. But I think also there's some of these kind of up-and-coming teams, and we see them particularly in some competitions that are happening right now in the official PUBG mobile scene, where we have La Familia competing. We've been able to see what they can bring up in top of their progress coming into 2022. And I think also the 4 Romanian boys, this other European team that we saw alongside, I think, Eastern Stars, both of these Romanian squads not quite perform, I think, as super highly. I think Eastern Stars more so than 4 Romanian boys, but even them kind of almost coming up a little bit short when it came to those PMGC West side in their results inside of those finals. So I want to see now, coming into 2022, what these teams can bring. And of course, all of these newer teams, if they can start to bring up some competition against our old favorites.
Yep. And of course, speaking about competition, the only way for the teams to lock in that victory at the end of the day, right, is going to be through utilizing the age-old point breakdown that we have. Of course, that first place is going to be awarding the team 15 points. Second place coming in on 12. We got third place on 10. Fourth place with 8. Fifth with 6. And then, of course, it trickles down all the way to where if they end anywhere between 8th place and 12th place, they'll only be awarded 1 placement point. Unfortunately, 13th to 20th and beyond not being awarded any placement points. But what's also going to be super important will be the elimination points, right? So for every elim they get a point. And at the end of the day, as all those points rack up, as you've mentioned before, winner takes all, and they walk away with some extra ching-ching in the bank.
They run away with the money. That's what they're doing. They're robbing away all of these other teams. That's what is happening here, DK, and you mentioned it, right? The elimination points. This is going to be the big decider, I think, for our 3 games. Because there are only 3 games, you can only get so many here in terms of the placement points. When you think about these more aggressive style of teams, potentially, of course, as we said, the favorite coming out of China and TJB Esports in these finals, are they going to be as aggressive? Are they going to be as controlling as we saw in the previous year? Because as we say, now we're coming into the new season. There have been roster changes. There have been changes in how these players have played. They've had time to relax. They've had time to reset. And as we ultimately said, now we're starting on a fresh page. We've seen the entire chapter 2021, and now we're beginning anew. And can they still maintain that top level skill that we saw in the PMGC? That is to be said, because we say there are all of these teams, the total of them, I believe 19 in total showing up. If my maths are right, I might be wrong, possibly 20. Don't judge me on that, DK. You know that I was never very good in maths, okay? Like, we were lucky when you know how long it took me to get, like, the counting? You know when you get to the end of the games and you count all the kills and the points and you're like, oh, this team got, like, 24, 25 points. That took me, like, a solid 6 months to get right. And you would think, oh, you're only counting to 40. You're only counting to 30. That's difficult, DK, for my small brain.
It is. I mean, like, that's why I use a calculator or Google. Google's my friend. It does absolutely fantastic, wonderful things. But of course, speaking about fantastic, wonderful things, right? We've been talking about the maps as well, right? And you were talking about the teams really having to show us, the strategies and all that. And of course, speaking about strategies, what better maps to do that on other than Erangel and Miramar? I mean, a back-to-back Erangel almost. This is like a Erangel-Miramar sandwich.
Man, I'm disappointed though. We've got no Sunhawk sandwich, of course. We had to take Sunhawk out because there are other events, as we said, happening around the PUBG mobile scene. But my favorite map still is there in terms of Miramar. I have been changed, okay, from PMGC. So I thought this Sunhawk was like my favorite, but there's just too many similarities in those zones. I didn't see enough spice, but Miramar gave me the spice. In fact, it gave me my first island on the eastern side of Miramar finish that I got to cast, and now Miramar's like my new home. I like the heat, I like the power that it can bring, and particularly I think we're going to see some of these hot drops going to be quite contested because, as we said, it's only one day, so the elimination points dropping on top of our teams and having that knowledge of where other teams are going to be dropping is going to be crucial to these teams having success. But of course, it's not just about that knowledge. It's about, can you then have the power? Can you have the skill to be able to take down some of these other squads who may be dropping alongside you?
Yeah, and I mean, what's also so exciting to see is, the fact that it is a winner takes all, and it's only one day, right? So whatever you are not able to accomplish in these 3 matches today, that's it, right? There's no prize for second place, third place, any other position other than taking the show, right? So it's gonna put a little bit of pressure on the teams to perform really exceptionally, but I've got no doubt that these teams are well capable of doing exactly that. I mean, otherwise, why would we be seeing them participating on all these, all these different events coming in on the Pmpl, coming in the PMGC? So some really heavy hitting plays coming through there. And also then we've got a few of these teams also then participating in the European community tournament, which is absolutely fantastic because they, once again, get to showcase their skills against teams that they don't necessarily get to play against.
Yeah, I think that is the key, though. That can they then, as we say, transfer that knowledge? Because if they are going to be as good as we hope that they can be, they should have that homework done of where these teams are dropping. And as we said, we can manipulate, just to reiterate that we don't have 4 days, 5 days, 6 days of competition. It is these 3 maps. And I think, as we said, those points are going to be crucial. But to the other point that I really think that we have to keep an eye on here, DK, is, are teams also going to then play it potentially safer because we only have 3 maps? Are they going to avoid that risky strategy? Because as equally as we could say you could get all of those kills, getting put out in last position or dead near to last, that's going to really affect their standings when it is only a winner takes all prize pool. So potentially we might actually see that safer team, if they pick up a few kills here and there, slowly make it to the edges of zone as we walk into that final stage of the games, and then pick up the pieces, then pick up that pace and get those kills at the end, those placement points more importantly. That might be one of those styles that we see actually come out on top.
Well, it's all going to come down to the pacing of the teams and how they are looking to enter into this, right? So we know that there's $150 up for grabs, but also I think this is an absolutely fantastic opportunity for the teams to try out different strategies against, you know, any opposing teams to see how they could maybe set themselves up moving into the next phase or the next stage of the competitive side, you know, on the competitive scene of the PUBG Mobile esports section. So I think this is absolutely fantastic opportunity for these teams to get themselves accustomed to potentially maybe new strategies or ironing out a few kinks that they might be experiencing in their current strategies.
I mean, this is like with me though, okay? Because we said like we're ironing out stuff, and I've not casted for a month, so I apologize now if we made the slight mistakes. I'm ironing out myself. I'm getting dry. I'm getting warmed up to it, DK. I mean, I think though, to be fair, that as much as I need to warm up, we are looking at teams, and I think that not only TJB are probably one of the ones that we're looking in for favorites. I quite fancy the eyes of the Eastern Stars, that other PMGC favorite, but we saw coming in. They didn't perform as well, I think, as a lot of teams expected, particularly, I think, for me, on Miramar, because if we set our eyes back all the way through the history of 2021, Eastern Stars were a team that were very dominant on Miramar. Now, there is only one map here, but we are expecting them to come out more so, and I think, than any other team here onto that Desert Dunes and come out with success. But I need to see that reiterated now in 2022 because we didn't notice that in PMGC, and because they never actually had that strength on that map anymore, they were being contested, they could never get themselves and that ball rolling. Can they do that now against potentially what we could say is a slightly easier lobby? The other ones really being, I think, on Erangel. That other map for Romanian boys are realistically the other big contender who I think can really challenge for that top spot.
Well, we'll have to wait and see as we move into our first map of the days. Of course, we can see a very comfortable kind of flight path coming in. It is making its way all the way up from the eastern end, heading over towards that Georgia Pool kind of section, and of course cutting through right across Pochinki. So definitely I think the teams should be relatively satisfied with what this map has to offer with regards to the locations they can be looking to drop into. But definitely I'm curious to see where this first phase is going to be forming, because I think that will tell us quite a bit of how the teams could potentially be rotating through the next few phases.
I'm seeing a lot of collision though here, DK, on that eastern side. I mean, Milter is already being hotly contested in that zone. Well, it says otherwise because it's gone all the way to the western side. So now you're immediately looking at these standard rotations around the side of Prison down towards the edges of Milter. Can these teams make those early rotations out, or are they going to try to stay a bit longer and fight? Speaking of fighting, we have already seen one, I believe, drop inside of Pochinki, and you can see inside of that more Gatka field side more being dropped as TJB on their split drop. A very interesting split drop, but very, I think, common from these teams who like to drop in Gatka field surrounding the center of this map. And they'll be happy, I think, with this, considering that actually they don't have to move. They can start to loot up. A lot of these players, they know have already dropped earlier on in that plane path, so they should have a slightly easier time initially starting out in this game, particularly with that first kill.
Yeah, I mean, this is already looking like a really hot and spicy start to this match. And of course, now as we look over in towards Pochinki, this is where we can see the players here from Team Myths now just looking to move in. And, you know, they've already been challenged. The head's already starting to find its way on in. And this is going to be an interesting play because, I mean, we can see they have a little bit of competition coming in. Giants Gaming right there alongside them, looking to kind of fight it out with the players here from Team Myths to try and secure this Pochinki position.
Well, Giants Gaming, they have unfortunately though lost 2 on that front line. So despite the fact that they are trying to defend this position, it's actually Mist, I think, have the upper hand. You can see them just completely obliterate over, I do believe, there the rest of Giants Gaming, as they all will just fall into pieces. And that's the first one already gone. 4 clean kills here for the rest of the Mist. Ramsey only now looting up those dead lunch boxes. All that loot inside of Pachinki, as it will not have to worry about settling inside of that zone. But of course, outside of that zone, we did see a lot of these teams drop inside that South Island area. Now you can see X-Ray here for the side of what will be fastPay Wildcats. Reviving one, they did knock out another of the Black Dragons, as they will also now need to find that revive, but not as simple being up on the top of that. So that crucial knock there is going to provide the initial time for fastPay Wildcats to jump in into this more main building of the C compound. And then I think what the fastPay Cats should be doing is trying to control this center forward, right into CF doing, because they don't have the players, they don't have the players to flank round. But can they find nades? No, they do not. Next going down actually means that now Gallagher has that open spot. So down to 1 fastPay. I don't know how much they've got left.
Oh, this is definitely what we want to see. The team stepping up, and look at that. Absolutely beautiful play coming through there as Galaga steps in, cleans it up, just picking up an absolutely fantastic grenade finish. But now, they're not done with it yet. I mean, now they got to look to the next engagement. We've got even more teams still sharing this area with them. And of course, Conqueror IRAQ just coming in so heavy hitting. They're now contending against the players coming in from the Black Dragons, who we see positioned up over on towards the balusters.
And this is a slight mistake, I think, coming through from Conqueror IRAQ, because, yes, they were then contesting against the Wildcats, but because the Wildcats actually then took that fight, they were very split in, despite all of that potential trading that they could have done also with that off-member player of Conqueror to try to stop that revive on Black Dragons. Because they didn't manage it, now you get all of them back up, apart from, of course, that first initial one they did die, but albeit now Black Dragons re-control their high ground position, and it makes it very difficult here for Conqueror IRAQ to navigate their way around. You can see the spray is coming out, but Ragavan will not be able to find that confirmed knock. So instead, as a result, Black Dragons, they do realize now they can't really force this into a fight, considering they have now lost the player down. But it's a surprise here from Gallagher as he knocks down 1, almost gets 2. He just assassinated from their own balcony top as they leave. There comes the second. And DK, a disaster for Black Dragons here as Conqueror cleaned up through onto the edge of Black Dragons.
Yeah, that was an absolutely fantastic play coming in from the players here of Conqueror. But I mean, looking at the rest of the Black Dragons, they've now been reduced to only 1 remaining player. So that, of course, is going to be talent to try and show us what talents they've got as they now look to make their way on through. And still, we see quite a big spread of teams coming through on that map, still looking to kind of find a decent position to move up into. But we do have the players there from TJB Esports actually looking to get quite aggressive as they now come running in on the 4 Romanian boys.
Well, unfortunately here for the 4 Romanian men, they do have to, 4 Romanian boys, should I say, they're not quite men now. They've got to muster themselves up to men by taking down TJB. And unfortunately, they look like they might have managed to do that, but it is death on either side. It's 3 now down, but it will be TJB to find a revives. And 4 Romanian boys, you need to get in here. They have the knocks, but as the revives do come through, now the reset and the fight occurs. And this position for TJB slightly less off. I think it's slightly a little bit less more easy for them to be able to jump on into the rest of 4 Romania boys. They do have the outskirts, they have the better information, but they are taking that shed. So unfortunately, 4 Romania boys, they put themselves into that corner. And that grenade, I think, is crucial. If they can land that, if they can realize their position based on these sound cues, that's what TJB need to be looking for.
Yeah, they're going to have to pay a lot of attention on that. But of course, now up comes TJB, just looking to move right on in, landing those finishing blows. And this is an absolutely devastating play for the 4 Romanian boys. But unfortunately, TJB, they're just going to keep on rolling. They're not backing out of the engagements just yet, as we can see yet another team positioned right up above them. So the fighting is not going to be stopping anytime soon as they continue to roll with these punches, and the players there from Nuclear Esports are going to be the team now, just trying to find an angle to play from up on the seal. As you can see, of course, now Fake quickly trying to pull off that raise, but up comes that rush as the team there from TJP just don't waste any time.
Yeah, but you can see here, though, Nuclear Esports, they have a hillside. I think they're giving up a little bit here when it comes to getting on the back. They just completely get shot down, and it can't switch fast enough. It's a 1v1 outplay, as Fake will lose his life, and down only to Nawaz as TJB. We talked about that aggressive playstyle, and if teams were going to be able to muster that up in this first game. And, well, TJB, we said they were favorites coming in, and they certainly look like the favorites so far in these initial few minutes. Already taking up, I believe, 7 kills in total, and that only looks even more when we said it got that control of the center of zone. It's going to take a lot of that first phase, potentially now into that second phase as well, for those more eastern facing teams to rotate their way in. I think particularly we now look towards that future. Now that the center of Gatka feels is cleared out, are we going to see that contention on the north side of zone? Well, we're not going to. We are going to see that zone shift back towards more of those eastern teams. So it is a slight respite, but you do have to keep in mind that Ruined, Rosshawk, this central side in towards the top end of that zone still can be a hot and contesting point. I think particularly for the likes of 4K, they're rotating their way down from Savoni. A lot of vantage point when it comes to the Everest and rotating in for that information over Gatka fields. And they shouldn't have to worry too much more so than some of these other teams who are congested, as we say. You have to look at all of those more, as we said, eastern side, and particularly the 100 who now control that entrance in.
Well, there's going to be a lot of prime real estate for these teams to try and occupy. We do see a little bit of an engagement coming in towards that school side, as we do have the players there from Team Falcons as well as NASR now trying to see if they can kind of wrap up their fight. As we now look on to NASR, who has been reduced down to only Hassan, the last lone survivor, now trying to hold on to this Rozhok Hill. And it's quite an interesting position to be in. I mean, NASR, unfortunately, not having any elims under their name for the time being. But we are seeing quite a few teams actually now trying to still kind of make their way on through, trying to move in to a position here or there. While NASR is going to be now trying to fend for themselves. We can see Hassan now just trying to secure a decent setup, decent angle up in towards the zone itself. Meanwhile, we got the players, of course, all now starting to rotate in the direction of zone, looking to just squeeze on in. We also see the players there from SCHOCKWAVE making their way now through that blue zone, but they do find a little bit of a position just up ahead of them.
They do, and I think here, SCHOCKWAVE, when you're looking again towards that position, more towards now the island for SCHOCKWAVE, they do need to move further in. They can't take this vantage point, and crossing out of the island in towards, as we said, that second phase zone is going to be difficult. They are taking, of course, that blue zone damage, but that's not my concern. My concern is now, how much information do SCHOCKWAVE have? Because they have been outside on the eastern front of that zone in phase 1, now almost approaching the end of phase 2. They are slightly more lucky here that teams aren't taking more of that edge approach. Teams trying to fight in the center for these kills and trying to be more ambitious because of the fact, as we said, we only have 3 games worth of points to grab up. But SCHOCKWAVE, they can take it slow. As a result of that, now they have their entrance in, they need to do scouting. How are they going to control that hill ahead there, Seiko? How are they going to look towards the teams that already have control over there?
Yep, and that's going to be absolutely essential for them to try and get a decent setup. We also see the players in from the 100 right up ahead. So definitely there could be quite a few threats starting to make its way on in, as we can see Seiko now just trying to find that approach up on towards Potato Hill. Meanwhile, the rest of the players coming in from the 100 are going to be heading further on towards that western front, just inching their way ever closer, just trying to secure a decent play maybe to move on in. And I think this is where it's going to be absolutely essential as the teams continue to move in. There's still 14 teams remaining. We are about to enter up into that third phase, and of course we do see Seiko now taking a few hits, but I definitely think that positional setup is going to be of the utmost importance.
Yeah, but at 100, they've got a better position here, though, DK. They actually have a beautiful line here. You can see where the back of these hills, they can wrap around, even if one falls, to not get knocked. So now, as you see, Icy Boss gets knocked. They are close to their team. That does buy a brief window here, potentially, here the rest of Shockwave to move up. But they still are, well, they're going in for the fight, actually. I hadn't hold my tongue because I think that they would try to take this slowly, but they're rushing in on the downed member, and it's a 2v3.
Yep. Oh, Elisio, though, getting run right over. Absolutely beautiful pushes coming in here onto the 100. Now we can see Daddy IGL looking to hold up that defensive line. We got Reznov also just trying to hold on for dear life. But, of course, Reznov right there on the front line needs to be super careful with this approach. You don't want to see them getting sent back too early, but either way, the team's now just trying to fight it out for this controlling position over on the east. Potato Hill, it's not too often we see the zone actually shifting in this direction, heading to the west with Potato Hill being in position, in play rather. But now, I mean, the 100 reduced down to 2. Challenging play to have, but this could still be a commanding position to hold.
It does add an element of chaos, though, to this game. Is, of course, Potato Hill is going to be very open. It's going to be more of a hilly flats with not as many trees, relying on maybe a few trees for cover, a few rocks here and there. But particularly as we come in, I think the importance, DK, of these teams being efficient in their rotations, can they be rapid enough from a knock, is what we saw Shockwave do to the 100 to then confirm that into a series of kills. That's the way you've got to approach Potato Hill, because taking it slow, had Shockwave waited, they may have then lost that opportunity. Revive comes through in the 100, and again, they set up that line of defense. But because they were able to break through, the 100 now at that disadvantage, who have to pull off and give the respect deserved to Shockwave for this edge of zone.
Well, yeah, they are definitely looking to preserve that position, but we do see so many engagements now just creeping ever closer as the teams continue now to try and establish some dominance. And we actually still have a few teams all the way down over towards that western bridge, caught out in the blue zone, trying to get back up into that playable area. And I mean, this is just looking absolutely insane as the teams continue to try and survive. And of course, we got the Conquerors being one of those teams positioned out in the blue. Right up ahead of them, we do see the team there from Storm Gaming positioned up on the hill. Conqueror still now riding on those 2 players, but we are now having quite a bit of fighting actually breaking out all over the place.
Conqueror very should, as much as they can, survive. I think they're not going to be long for this world here, though, DK. I think that, actually, as you said here, though, Storm Gaming should be moving further up into that zone, as they finally now do. Could be a little bit late here, as Resnor making his final stand as well. But a beautiful pincer through from the backside. Now he goes down to 10 HP to nothing, as an aid will confirm it down. It's only Daddy remaining here for the 100. But I don't think he can help any longer, as here comes Shockwave, ready to drive him over. Can he find one? Should be able to get the knock, but a second drive over will confirm the knock against 100 and eliminated just like that alongside Conqueror.
Absolute brutality coming through. I mean, the players there from Shockwave landing some absolutely beautiful hits. But of course, we've got Conqueror now also still trying to make their plays. We can see Kalaga now just hopping in and out of those vehicles. But meanwhile, we do have fights still continuing as the teams are going to be looking to get into some decent positions, as we are starting to definitely run out of space on the map. Of course, Blue Zone is going to be devouring several of those players, as they are not able to kind of keep up with the sheer carnage being brought through at the hand of the Blue Zone. But of course, if we now look up into the zone itself, we can see things are not looking all that easy, all that comfortable. We've got quite a really tough position now, as we have the shots coming in. ENLIGHTHEN finding themselves in a bit of a tricky position, getting knocked out as we saw those hits coming in from the Shockwave side. And I'm expecting this phase, the zone, to get quite troublesome, as we are relatively close to Pachinki, and there's not a lot of space really to move on through as we head on to that northern side.
It does depend on how Phase 5 shifts, but Phase 4, you did mention, of course, is entrance in across the road. Gonna cause a lot of problems here for Enlighten to try getting onto the action. They do have a plethora of kills, but I don't think they're going to be able to make it much further unless it go for the drive-by. But without those vehicles, that's a crucial disadvantage that they're at here to try get some ways in and potentially maybe leaving one man behind, putting all the med kits onto them and trying to have them survive. May just be the only option here, as you can see how difficult it is to even move past that tree line. The other end, though, of that zone being the side of TJB coming out of Pachinki, there's a big hill there that I think the TJB can take advantage of. As yes, we do see Aurori go down, it is this likelihood of the western side players who have that advantage of the high ground on this phase 4.
Yeah, and definitely we see that the kind of congestion now starting to come on the western edge. I mean, look at this though, Wolf. We got 12 teams left. We are approaching that 5th phase. Not a lot of space really to make much use of, and we see quite a bit of carnage now continuing across the board as the teams are fighting relentlessly. I mean, Kalaga has been not only fighting the blue zone, but continuously trying to get a good foothold in the zone. Meanwhile, speaking of which, we do see the players here now from TJB also come rushing up as they move into that Pachinki region. The zone is now also getting ready to pop, but TJB, they're looking to clear up Pachinki for the time being.
Yeah, the smoke as well, really great here. You might think, well, it might block their vision, but because they have the high ground, it actually does the opposite. It blocks the enemy's vision on top of them coming in, and that's why they can now just run further down. They are able now to assault that side easier from the church, but the zone is going to take a shift up to the north side, so they are 100 meters out, and they do have that position already anchored in. 2 players in TJB squad with 11 kills already, looking to settle their position in this next phase 5 almost instantaneously. But now, as they scout out the rest, maybe just looking for more kills here. You do see, of course, the 7 is holding up. They may have spotted out one of the members there of La Familia, but it is on the opposite end. NASR taking the knock here through from Shockwave as they equally confirm that wait, not on the south, but on that eastern side. And I think that Shockwave, the other real contender here when it comes into this zone, because if you can just move, I think, a second member down to that southern point, you do see Shockwave controlling with that sole man, that would be maybe slightly a bit easier. The 2-2 split coming out slightly stronger, I think, considering that you are going to have a lot of these teams you have to expect coming in from that eastern side and that southern side as well.
Oh, but look at this now. Lewis just peeking out the window, finding an absolutely beautiful lineup right onto SYR, positioned out in that open field. Yes, they are in the north of the zone. There's not really much cover for them to make use of, aside from a few bowls that they have in that region. But, I mean, the pressure is just going to keep on mounting as we have even more teams now getting ready to rotate right into play here. We've got the players there from the 4 Romanian boys, I believe, positioned just up in front, just trying to hold on, squeeze their way on in. Well, I might even be wrong, but of course now, you know, this is just how tough it is. That, in fact, is going to be the players there from KURDISTAN, actually, moving up just ahead of the Falcons here. So I'm not quite sure what Lewis is going to be able to do from this position, because if he's not careful, you could see quite a bit of return fire actually finding its way right towards him.
They landed the initial grenade. They got the first confirm on the knock, but they couldn't find the second, though. And that's why we can't confirm the kill there. As you said, for KURDISTAN, they have been able now to equalize themselves back up to 2. They are able to now confirm that assault. But this is where we said the problem was. The 1-3 split coming through from them. That's now where we start to see the issues, because we can see that there are even more of those players approaching the southern side. We said that's where the congestion is going to come up from. We are right in that sense of that's where the majority of those teams are entering up, and the threat is there. The threat from this northern side, not really as much. As I say that is going to be a beautiful knock through from Tigers, and Shockwave not quite done quite yet.
Yeah, definitely far from done. I mean, Shockwave looking to instill quite a few Shockwaves, already sitting with those 7 Elims under their belt. They just keep on finding the plays straight on through, making it so exceptionally difficult. We can see the sheer carnage now coming in as the teams continue to push further and further forward. But of course, we also have the players there from the side of TJB now continuing with their own efforts, trying to line it up, trying to pick up those hits. But Falcons, can see right in their midst are going to be just trying to kind of outpace them as they now continue to make their way on through. And we're inching closer and closer to the finish. But with that, now Falcons get rushed on in as we do see the players there from SCHOCKWAVE moving right up towards them. Meanwhile, TJB, as we can see now, finding a beautiful angle on towards Galaga. With that, Conqueror gets sent right on away. The zone once again shifting over in towards that western direction. 4 teams now remain. Of course, we have even more fights now starting to break out as the players here from the Falcons try to hold on to their position. They do get rushed, and with that, get taken right on out. But look at this. TJB just capitalizing on their position, lining it up and just sending it through one after the other.
You've got so many kills, so TK not only looking for more, they strike another knockdown. It's perfect pinpoint precision here coming through from the rest of TJB and Lin. Here also GK first, they are only looking even stronger on their entrance into the zone. You've got to though imagine, can there be any way for SEER Esports to control this? Yes, there is. They can try to stop the entrance in. That is the only problem. You can see TJB, they had the smokes on that mountainside, but as they come down the hill from that top end of the spectrum into the lower end of SEER, then they come into that more open ground, and that's where SEER can take advantage of them.
Oh, and now Zero C and Tam just trying to hold up the fort. As we can see, Zero C just scoping frantically, trying to pick up any movement. But unfortunately, GK first comes through with the heads right on towards them. Shots lining up so beautifully in favor of TJB. But now, I mean, SYR still not out of the fight just yet. It is going to be a 3v3 fight to the finish. Both teams coming in and looking exceptionally strong. Zero C, as we can see now, getting spotted out there by GK first as well. But how are they going to play this one? I mean, we know TJB, heavy hitters, hard hitters, 17 elims already up against SYR.
And this is the dominance that we would have expected coming out, but that knock onto Lin, that might be the stopper for them. They have found one, but it's all up now. So can he take down the second? Because this is, as we said, the dominance that we wanted to see coming through the former Unicorns 11 members, and they show us why they've been picked up by such a phenomenal organization in the history of TJB Esports and PUBG Mobile, but they cannot close it out. Seriously, we said the control that they had in that lower ground was just a little bit too much, and they do claim the chicken dinner of this first game, 4 kills going over to them, but you cannot deny, DK, the obliteration that TJP put into this first game lobby. A total there of 17 kills in a second position to boot, are massively ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, that was an absolutely crazy performance coming in from the side of TJP there. I mean, they just kind of ran away with the lobby. If we look over on towards the players here now coming in from SCHOCKWAVE, I mean, SCHOCKWAVE also put in a really strong effort, finishing on those 11 elims. So, again, that is nothing to scoff at. But unfortunately, they weren't able to make it all the way up into that chicken position where we see the players here from SYR taking the reins, taking that pole slot. But of course, some really strong plays coming in nonetheless. We do see the players there from the Falcons taking that 4th place, also finishing exceptionally strong, coming in with a grand total of 9 elims.
Yeah, I mean, Conqueror as well. They stepped up 4 kills. You also had, I believe they're the side of in life standing out through, or sorry, Ian, they're standing up through for the 6 kills that they were able to grab towards the end. And I think, as we say, there are these kills here and there coming down, but there is TJB at the top, and TJB at the top with those 17 kills. Yes, it didn't confirm that 2nd place, and I think that's a almost glimmer of hope that we have for some of these other teams down the bottom of that leaderboard, that, well, TJB, they didn't get as much points as they could have got, and that does open the board, because those 3 points, they do matter when it comes to potential likes. So if you said Conqueror, you also had the rest of SCHOCKWAVE there in 3rd position, who, albeit in their own right, keep in mind, did get a plethora of kills when it comes to 11 in total. So they aren't as far behind as potentially TJB would have liked them to be, and it now comes into the 2nd and that 3rd game particularly. Can the rest of SCHOCKWAVE keep this up alongside TJB? Because I have a feeling But with Lin and GK first, these phenomenal players now joined up between 57 and Lang, you are looking at a very dominant team.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, honestly, it can still swing either which way, right? So we've seen the capability of the teams now coming through in a very, very exciting first match, making its way on in. But, I mean, this was an absolutely runaway performance. I mean, Lin, GK first, they just, you know, they just hit it home, hit so hard. And, I mean, match one, like, they're not even holding back. Like, you know, it's like they come running in, breaking down the door. You say, you know what, we're here. We're going to show some absolutely insane gameplay. And even though we don't get the chicken, man, you're going to wish we did.
They're limit testing, though. That's what I think they're doing against the rest of this lobby. And by golly, does it work? You can see in which they played that first game. You're dropping 4 single men split on side of Gatka Hills, and I think around that Gatka Hills area, very risky to do so. We've seen many times teams who would try to take those 4 individual drops get heavily punished in that early game, and it could have gone south very quickly. But because they're relying on the skill, because they're relying on the single pick potential that they got at the very start of that game, they cooked the first kill, then they were able to roll down into their first team kill off of that downed member, making it that 4v3 upper hand that they had going into that fight. And from there, with that zone, a very dominant game. I want to see, though, what TJB can do, though, if that zone does not go their way, because that's, I think, the crux. There was a lot of the issue with some of these other teams on side of the eastern end. We said that all of those teams fighting on the side of Milta, fighting on the side of Milta Power, in around Potato Hill, the 100 having that trouble controlling the rest of that zone. And I think now, can TJB equally as much as have the zone gifted to them perform if you are congested in around a lot of these other teams?
Only time will tell. Unfortunately, we do have one more Erangel to come. But before we get over in towards Erangel, we first have to go a little bit through that Miramar action, make our way through the desert to see who survives and comes out in one piece on the other end. Of course, speaking of that, we are going to be jumping into a quick break. We'll be also showcasing the results and the standings before we get into the next match. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you guys right back after the break. Welcome back, guys. We're getting ready to hop straight into the action for our second match over on towards Miramar. But of course, first match was absolutely on fire. We in fact saw the players there from TJB coming in with an absolutely phenomenal performance, stepping up, taking a second place right behind the players there from SYR. But TJB finished so strong with 17 elims to their name, well ahead of the 4 elims, in fact, coming in from the side of SYR.
I mean, you have to give it to TJB here, DK. They were so dominant in their kill prowess, but also their control in the zone. And it speaks to me of the knowledge they had on Erangel. Now, as we said, they were given the zone. They were very much limit testing the other players in this lobby, going very risky in their initial drop styles. So now, coming into a different map onto Miramar, can TJB equal that success through? I have a slight feeling that they can, but albeit there are potentially now going to be teams saying, well, TJB are in the lead. The only way that we can really stop them is potentially to try to hot drop them, particularly these teams, I think, lower down on that leaderboard, who we said, well, they are further down. They need a big series of results through these 2 games to step up, to try even contest for that $150. That's how I would do it if I were one of these squads, going straight at the throat of TJB or SYR.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're gonna have to do. You know, they have to dial up that aggression, moving on towards Miramar. And I mean, I'm excited to see what Miramar is gonna bring, because we know it's a relatively large map. It has quite a bit of way on through. And of course, speaking about the teams, we do have our map starting out now, as we can see that flight path coming in from the east, heading up in towards the northwestern side. But this is where I'm not curious to see what the teams are going to be doing with regards to those drop locations, and whether or not they're going to be doing what you've said now, implementing that extra bit of aggression, potentially chasing TJB and the players there from SYR Esports.
I don't think it's really a question here. I mean, particularly where you have such a playing path that is clearly so kind to a lot of these teams, minus those who kind of want to drop down towards La Torrera, Chumacera. Those are the only spots, Minister Val, that are going to be the few short locations that we can't really access in this initial playing path. But I'm expecting, actually, as we said, some of these lower teams on the leaderboard to be able to step up, to be able to give themselves a chance, quite frankly, because if you let TJB, if you let SYR, we said that they can, if they survive, roll away with these games, and that's what I'm scared of. These teams, again, continuously keeping up that momentum in shutting the door, quite frankly, on all of these teams who didn't perform so well. I mean, you look, though, towards again that congestion, and we talked about where those hot drops are coming. It is a rainbow, quite frankly, right now happening towards over in Impala, and that zone going south all the way to Los Leones. Oh boy, are we starting off here, DK, with a Highland Wolf zone, central bang slappered onto Los Leones. You don't know how many times the zone loves to go this way with me.
Well, yeah, this is a very, very interesting shift rather. The teams all moving up towards the north. The zone taking that a hard shift down to the south. But I mean, you were talking about the rainbow. We see that rainbow breaking out in 3 separate positions, not only in Impala, but Al Azhar as well as El Pozo. So this is going to be an absolutely brutal start for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, as you say, especially these important fights happening between, of course, 4 Romanian boys and the 100 over in Al Azhar, but towards also that more northwestern side, also going to see that action in Crater Fields. I think Crater Fields going to be slightly more subdued and slightly more slow when it comes to the fighting, because they shouldn't be as aggressive in such a precarious spot, quite frankly, of Miramar. I don't know why teams are trying to drop around that location, quite frankly, but as we do see on that kill feed to 100, 4 Romanian boys as we expected fighting it out on that more open, contestable side of Al Azhar. But to that south, Impala, equally going to be quite contested. You do see the rest of Mist. Yes, they are going to be here on this northern side. I think they are slightly better off. Because, yes, they are further away from the zone, but they got all of this space, keep in mind, north side of them, that they can rotate to. They don't have to fight. And I think this is something that Mist should be wary of, trying to find that position later on, and then counteracting on the pressure they have on that position against those later in on the fights.
Well, the fights are going to be not stopping anytime soon. I mean, as we can see, Guildford is just going absolutely to town. We have action over in it towards El Paso, as well as the teams are currently making their way, just trying to secure themselves a decent position to get through that looting phase. I mean, the fights are just all over the place. It's going to be action upon action upon action. I mean, you see the players there from Conqueror also finding themselves in a little bit of a predicament now, coming under fire up in towards that Impala position. And I'm curious to see how these teams are going to play these heavily congested regions. We do see Kalaga now getting knocked right on down as Boran finds a beautiful angle. But with that, Conqueror losing yet... well, rather losing their first player, now getting reduced down to 2. But we can see X-Ray actually just trying to sneak up right behind them. Ooh!
This should already be over, I think, here for fastPay Wildcats. That third one only a nail in the coffin. I think Gallagher completely out of position, out of line when it comes to fastPay, just having total control over that doorway entrance, not respecting that the players could be there. You should have known with the parachutes coming in early on. And as rightly so, Rio not taken down by fastPay, but by Eastern Stars Kapahala no less, as they will confirm the extra kill. Yes, they steal it away, that's 1 point, but actually Eastern Stars are now given their own position away, and rightly so, fastPay immediately respecting and pushing their way back into cover.
Yep, and the fights now just starting to line themselves up. Myths now also just trying to hold on somewhat to the current play we have going on, and of course the players there for Kurdistan still going to town on the 100. As we can see, the 100 now really having their numbers put quite a bit of damage in towards. But, I mean, Al Azhar is looking pretty crazy, as there's already 3 elims under the belt of the players coming in for the side there of for Kurdistan, as we jump straight over towards them. And it does seem like the 100 is now down to Reznov. Reznov, the Ross remaining hopeful, trying to hold on, but I mean, absolute sheer aggression being dialed up. You were talking about teams having to step up with aggression if they are looking to catch the players there from TJB, and wow, for Kurdistan doing exactly that, not wasting a single moment as they just put that aggression to fantastic use.
Yeah, that knock should have been, I think, Reznov just trying to escape the building. You can't really contest that for AV1. I think what happened there to 100 DK was they just got pushed out to the edge of Al Azhar. They did actually drop in towards the center of the town. So as a result, they gave away a lot of the position there to the rest of the 4 Romanian boys. And as a result, then they start to get pushed to the edge of that side, as we said, towards the open hills. And from there is really no escape without those vehicles that they couldn't get because they weren't inside of the compound either. So they had no result into that angle either. As fastPay, they will strike another down onto the edge of Eastern Stars. Mr. Pink now has been knocked, but the 2v2 here coming through is a double split coming through from Eastern Stars should allow, I believe, Kapahala here to make the run in, but it does give away some form of cover that we're taking. But another knock through from fastPay is an equal trade this time, but it does stop the assault. And now fastPay can make that move, rightly so. You see the front 2 members closer towards that mountain side, edging their way forward. A bit of an aggressive play coming through from X-Ray, though.
Yeah, quite a bit of a play, though. But both teams actually applying that 2-2 strat. As we can see, we got X-Ray trying to sneak up on the front line. Mr. Pink now just quickly trying to recover somewhat of that health. Meanwhile, the fighting is going to continue now right on towards the 4 Romanian boys. We see the hits lining up in that kill feed. But look at the rotations now coming in as the teams are just trying to position themselves in a good play. I mean, fastPay Wildcats on the approach. We do have that little sneak approach now finding its way on in. But the Eastern Stars, the Eastern Stars, they're just standing their ground. They're not going to be budging anywhere just yet, as we do have Mr. Pink and X-Ray, potentially Kapahala even, getting ready for a little bit of that fighting.
It's Boran on that flank. You could see him who's making that crucial move. I need to see if Boran can try to go unnoticed and try to pincer now, as we said, the rest of Eastern Stars, who is also the similar problem happening as we saw to the 100, being pushed out of that compound due to the 2 knocks. They never had that mountainside because also the knock came through there. X-Ray getting across with that knock. Very aggressive move, no less, but did get in to the next building in line and then pushing Eastern Stars further and further away from the fight and the position that they would have liked to try take.
Ooh, but up comes that wrap around play now, as we can see X-Ray just hugging the edge of this little mound here, just trying to creep on around to try and line up the plays towards the Eastern Stars. We can see Kapahala, Mr. Pink now focusing right towards Boran and the rest of the team from the Wildcats. But look at this play as X-Ray comes, laser focusing in, picking up Mr. Pink, and Kapahala now hastily retreating back into hard cover.
And it's these flanks that Eastern Stars just did not expect from a PMGC level team. Was not what I was expecting on the mispositioning here, but rightly so, get punished, and they will get the confirmed knockover. They almost got Kapahala for it, but Kapahala does juke out into cover. And they are now, I think, all relying here on that back line there for Eastern Stars. Doran is the only one that really can rescue Athos and Kapahala from this location. The knock does stall fastPay for a while, but as Doran gets knocked, that's a crucial entrance now on in. As a revive came through from fastPay, and it should be sitting pretty as they dive on in X-Ray. Alongside now, Dorax again coming further closer up.
Oh, and the rush is piling right up on them. Athos and Kapahala now just trying to hold on as a relentless effort now comes in. Ooh, the knock comes in. Kapahala goes down. It is now purely down to Athos to try and make it through this one in one piece. But will Athos be able to sustain and maybe potentially keep the players here from the Wildcats at bay? Unfortunately, no, as they come rushing straight on forward, getting a beautiful squad wipe, and with that, adding to the 7 elims they have under their belt already.
It could have almost gone wrong for fastPay. They were very low in the health bars, but you need one more bullet in all of them. And unfortunately, the rest of these stars didn't have that. And as you said, 7 kills. They are looking extremely dominant so far, and they are looking like the aggressors of this second game. Much more comfy in around the Desert Dunes. But to look at that map here, as we do see, of course, phase 2 here, DK has shifted through, and it continues to centralize around Los Leones. So I'm expecting maybe some of these teams to hit up around that more western side of Los Leones, the entrance on in, as particularly, I think, also not only that entrance to stop the wide flanking members coming in from the rest of El Pozo and co, but also that northern end of Los Leones. You see, we're actually the sides there of, I do believe it is NASR, who are going to be holding up that frontal point. That mountaintop, very crucial. And they're going to be able to then not only keep an eye on the information of what happens in Los Leones, but also DK all of that then ridge lines going down into the edge of La Bandita. A lot of these teams coming in from the north side.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a pretty tough zone to play on in, as we do see that blue zone now starting to close up once again. A few hits finding their way on in, as well as we can see a little bit of congestion now coming in on that western front. In fact, the players from the side there of the Giants now having to try and deal with the team there from Nigma Galaxy hard on the heels. Up north, even more fighting, as we do see the players there now from the side of Falcons, of course, still trying to defend that northern territory. But things are looking pretty scarce, as we can see even TJB having a bit of a tough time rotating in now from that southwestern side.
Yes, these fights are coming through from the southwest as well, and TJB made to execute out one of the rest of SCHOCKWAVE, and that's a big fight because keep in mind, SCHOCKWAVE, TJB were very close in the standing, so for TJB to actually circumvent around and take one out, confirm away from SCHOCKWAVE, that's going to be a big upset for them, but they still are not out of the fire just yet. as they do need to now contest with this more eastern side zone. Another hard shift outside completely the city of Los Leones. And you are looking now, I think, towards NASR's position, we said. I think also to really the side of Myth there as well. Two very equally strong high ground positions, and they are going to have to control the wave of these players that are going to surge on in onto them.
Oh, and boy, is there a wave of teams now just making their way on through. We see several teams actually still trickling in from that blue zone. But there's so much place the teams can now move into, especially if we look over on towards that northeastern side, right? You got a few interesting positions there. We even see the players now from Kurdistan taking an angle out in the open field. I'm curious to see where the rest of these teams are going to be trying to cram themselves into. As we see, there's not a lot of space really to rotate through. But once they make it past that initial barrier, that is where things could look to get a little bit more on the easier side for the time being.
Yeah, the high ground, I think, being the difficulty that it's all on the outskirts of this zone here. You saw four Romanian boys who kind of deadlocked themselves into the center of that zone in amongst the open. But to get, of course, in past that edge of zone, that's the problem. Is Giants are only going to lose themselves another honor entrance in, but keep themselves free, still remaining, as it will use the scout the information to avoid now that rest side of those hills, and instead make their way through Los Leones, which I think should have been realistically the option initially for Giants. Is making use of that cover of the building still going to be crucial. Yes, it's not inside of that zone, but you can use it to avoid those open hills and avoid that open expanse that is where this zone has gone to.
Yeah, and we've actually seen quite a bit of play coming through from the players there of NASR, as you've pointed out before, right? They've now found their hits up into the Giants. They found some hits coming in right up into the players there from Nigma Galaxy as well. And now they are looking to maybe just push that controlling play a little bit further, as we do now have a slight shift coming in with the next phase, as Blue Zone, of course, is going to start making its way on in. We don't have a locked-in rotation just yet, but the teams are now starting to get a little bit active. We see the players here from Nigma also just exploring their options. We have Raouf picking up that res on his teammate. As we can see, Hixie now just trying to move in. We do see NASR still positioned up ahead, but this is where those positions are going to get really challenged, as we have such a mass migration almost coming in now from that western edge, and that is pretty evident if we look over in towards Los Leones itself.
I worry for Nigma, though. They don't really have the kills. They don't have the position here to really contest that top one position. Judging by the fact they are struggling on the edge of this own phase 4, you shouldn't be tanking phase 4 right now. It's going to hurt, and I think Nigma are going to pay that price ultimately of not having the information of where these teams and these players will be coming into, of course, that city, into that open expanse, which is going to be so crucial for them. But where did that zone shift? It shifted again to the eastern side, DK, and that's the next problem. Now that all of the city has been engulfed into the Blues expanse that comes closer forward, a lot of pressure now on the rest of Giants and all of these teams, even NASR on those hills, to get down into that dirty pit of fighting that is going to have to be where this next phase 5 is gone. That road, crucially, I think, also do have a problem here, and that's where it's going to be the separation. Phase 5, in now on to probably phase 6 here, is going to be a big decider on who can set these points, who can get these good placements, as well as kills, because depending where this next phase goes, that's where we're going to decide our winner, DK. And now, this zone, I wouldn't argue it's about fighting as much as it looks like it could be. It's more about, can you stabilize a position in that center, like the rest of C have done, like Miss have done, like also you do see the rest of LF have done too.
Yeah, I mean, that is going to be crucial once again, but we do see the shots now finding their way in once again. Storm all the way on that northern side, just utilizing their kind of eagerness to rotate up into zone, looking to set themselves up in anticipation of any potential chaos maybe finding its way up towards them. And this is where I'm looking to see what they're going to be making with these plays, as they now are just looking to secure a nice little bit of a creep, well, not a creep position, but they're just trying to kind of dip their toes in the zone, right? But having control of the compounds would set them up if the next shift does come in their direction, because there's not a lot of compounds left in this current phase.
Well, that's the problem, right? You can see with the teams like, well, ENLIGHTHEN, Storm Gaming here in Team 18, that you look down into that zone. It's completely open. You've got a road there. There's no real way that the rest of Storm Gaming can feasibly get in onto this zone. So by staying on the edge here, and as we said, stabilizing into Phase 5, that's a crucial point, because keep in mind, we are owning in Phase 4, so fighting, yes, it does look desirable, but that zone is still going to be fairly chaotic, and chaotic to those who are not inside of that zone, who don't have that stable position, because depending on where it shifts, it's either going to save them, or it's going to hinder them to the point that they go extinct. As Giants, they're losing 1, they're losing 2, Salazar is on the edge, and they are taking the fight versus Black Dragons, but I fear both of them may fall here as NASR and, of course, La Familia control their entrance in.
Well, Salazar is not going to be letting that one go just yet. As we can see, Salazar, of course, now just rushing on through, trying to get the hits in, but unfortunately is not able to make it out of that one. The Black Dragons just putting up such a phenomenal play, just picking up some easy claps as they make that rotation and looking to secure a bit of a foothold coming in on that western front. But of course, now we do have the players here from TJB as well, just looking to see if they can maybe find a sneaky approach to get a decent play. I mean, they are so close to that southern side, and looking at the terrain we have here, essentially you want to have the high ground, because to the north, everything is just running down the slope.
I think that for TJB, they are playing it slow. They've got the points here, DK, in that first game, and they know they, with a good placement points in Game 2, Game 3, a couple kills here and there, they realize that they can actually contest that first spot. So in almost a smart way, they've taken that southern entrance. They, of course, got that extra kill onto SCHOCKWAVE. It did punish SCHOCKWAVE, as you've seen already in this game, and unfortunately, they, I believe, have suffered to the hand of them. But now TJB, they've got themselves on the edge of that zone. They have the high ground. They have all of that information that is so crucial. But crucially, they've got the vehicles as well in play, which is something a luxury these other teams don't have. Like NASR, like La Familia, they have now abandoned almost their vehicles for these positions in play. They've had to sacrifice them under the fire of those other teams, and they don't have that ability to make those quick rotations as TJB do, or that space they do have on that south side, because as we also look, the northern end is where it's all congested.
Yeah, they do be doing what they do be doing, trying to just squeeze themselves into a decent position. But I mean, the zone currently is looking pretty tough, right? There's not a lot of positions really for the teams to be utilizing here, as we can see already now. The players here from Nigma Gaming fighting off a tough end of that stick. The same can be said here for La Familia, as we see Wasted now just come flying off of the high ground, trying to rush on forward before that next phase actually kicks on in. Nigma still riding on one, La Familia moving up, but we still have 10 teams left moving through this 5th phase into potentially 6th phase now.
And a caution, because these teams, they know that the second game is crucial. We get points here, but that's a congestion. GK, that's the congestion that they can get into the 3rd game to get that 1st place. And they know that that's where the money lies. La Familia, they are stepping further forward, though. Italian rep stepping further forward now into the edge here. The entrance of for Kurdistan as well. Sia, really the bigger threat here of the two. You do control, of course, the rest here for Kurdistan. They are being pushed down the hill, and Sia, they will have to move though. Phase 6, that is where it is at, DK. And to look at that map, as the Phase 6 hits, where does it go? It goes up to the northern side, and that could be great for Sia, but not so great if they lost a player here. Modi going down, and Ali in between them all. It's all up to Tams having to stop his 4-man push to TJB solo, and he gets one, but can he get a rest?
Oh, the pressure is definitely on, but we see the fights continuing as the teams are now looking to make it up. I mean, TJB sitting with 2. We got Lin and GK first, but they're not satisfied with the position. They are going to be looking to potentially come rushing straight on through as they make their way up on towards Storm Gaming. Got Lin now trying to come in with a rush. One knock does pick up the confirm, continuing to move forward. GK first does get traded off, but could this be the play for Storm to close it out? Lin quickly ducking it, picks up another hit, and this is going to be the closure they wanted, picking up the squad wipe. Oh, the grenade comes in, and with that, TJB finishing up with a decent amount. But SYR, they want a piece of the pie. They're going to come rushing right in, crashing the party.
Oh, good day, though, DK. It was the Quadra almost coming realistically there through from Linden. And it just got silenced by Sia, decimated in their hopes. That's a beautiful punish from Sia. And I think that might be the real big change in the standings. Because Sia, they were the next ones up on top. They've already got one chicken dinner, so they have the points able to contest. But now, can Sia survive? They're not inside phase 6. In the other real ones that were looking strong here, La Familia also need to move in onto this zone because of how hard that shift was. Only really missed control.
Oh, but look at this though. La Familia down to only Clay. Miss now just coming in with sheer carnage. Such devastating blows now finding their way on towards La Familia. We see Clay taking a little bit of damage, but look at this though. I mean, FALCON from Myths not going to be backing out. Now having a fairly good angle on towards the players there from SYR coming in over on towards that northeastern side. But could this maybe be in the bag for Myths? I mean, already 4 elims under their belt. We see the players there from La Familia coming in down to 1, but 7 elims. Oh, FALCON goes on in, picks up Ali, but now pressure is on. Clay gets picked right on up, gets sent right on away. With that, Myths also have a quick trade-off coming in their direction. And now this is going to be down to the players here from SYR and Myths to fight it out for that controlling, dominating position in this phase.
See, look, DK, that was a crucial knock against them. Alizzi, they do get one, but Tam equally strikes back on the other and uses the ridgeline, gets barely under the fire line of Myths as he will find a tree, has a vehicle there, he's got a Jeep to drive on in. I think that's the only hope here for the rest of SYR. They've got a healing, but it's only one team that we need to take out. Tornado has the pin to lock in on Tam, but it's the other one here, the flank. Is there going to be any more this year can do?
I don't know. We'll have to wait, see what it is they're going to be bringing, because we are down to our final 3v3 fight. A really controlling position, though, now coming in at the hand of SYR. We can see Hamadi and Zero up ahead. Also now with Tam still occupying the position behind the tree, just gathering information, but is also relatively secure within that zone.
Throwing him in.
Yeah.
He's throwing him in. DK, all of them are going for Tam. Where is the other two? Where's support? Because Tam, he can't find a knock. That was crucial for Myths to stay alive, but the rest of Seer, the communication is not there. They should be going in. They should be trying to dive onto the position of Myths. They all got funneled into Tam, but because they don't, Myths now step back forward, and this is the control and the point, the opportunity this year ESPORTS has. I think it might be gone. There's a down to only Hamadi in that. Box is not going to save you, my friends.
Well, Hamadi landing some absolutely beautiful shots there. It is now down to FALCON and Tornado. Trying to move in, trying to see if they can close it out, trying to get the confirm in, and they do succeed. A 0C gets sent right on away. All the pressure riding on Hamadi's shoulders. 6 elims under their belt already. Could Hamadi close this one out? Could he find those last few engagements? Does pick up yet another knock on towards FALCON, and now it turns to Tornado to come storming through. Absolute play after play. Ramsey, fortunately getting raised up, is still in a position to continue fighting. Hamadi now just trying relentlessly to find these last finishing blows. A 1v3 so far, and unfortunately, Hamadi does not succeed. It goes straight to Myths, but absolute beautiful handling coming in at the hand of Hamadi.
It was beautiful control from Hamadi, but using the edge at the top of that smoke to not only cover them, but also because the top of the screen is still there available to see past the smoke. They knew exactly when Myths were coming up, and they were baiting them in. With the cover of the smoke, they were able to then find the shots when they had the clear eye sight onto them. quick shot here and there, they're able to find 2, but as you said, rightly so, the revive so crucial onto the final miss member, and with that, Broly able to secure the final kill for themselves and save miss to what was, I think, should have been, quite frankly, a stronger chicken dinner than that. They did definitely struggle towards the end, with Hamudi being, I think, pretty out of contention, but almost made it work.
Well, either way, that was still Hamudi looked so comfortable. Just the way that he was dealing with the threats presenting themselves, coming up over those ridge lines, just laser focusing in on those engagements. That was such a beautiful play for me coming in from Hamudi. Unfortunately, Hamudi wasn't able to confirm them up, but what an effort that was. I mean, in my opinion, that was a really strong play coming from Hamudi in that particular situation. And, you know, Myths, if it hadn't been for that sneaky raise coming in on Hamzy, that would have been the end. And we could have seen Sir take that chicken instead of finishing up in second.
Well, it's still a really great performance there through from Sia, and you have to keep in mind that the real big detonator here from Sia was the kills onto TJB. Now, Lin stepping up with 8 kills and total GK first again, they take themselves into a comfortable position, but also so did the rest of Sia grab themselves 6 kills. So with that second position, those extra, I believe, 4 placement points, they still go out on top, and they're closing that gap onto TJB, and this is where it comes down to now. That final game, can the rest of Sia put up more of a performance? Can they try to get those extra kills, those maybe extra placement points? Because if they can, they're looking now at taking out TJB and stop, and that's to stop that pole position that they are inside of. Yeah. I think, though, the problem there really was here on Sia, and I think we just need to see a little bit more of it, is aggression. Not only from the rest of these bottom teams. So we talked about here DK needing to really step up if they had any opportunity. Some of them didn't. They kind of fell to the wayside, and as a result, we don't see them really in that congestion, into that contention spot here, should I say, for that top spot. But they can still upset. And I think, similarly to Sia, they should have been more aggressive. They should have been going in on that fight. They should have been trying to go towards the hillside as soon as Tam draws all that attention from 3 missed players. But because that wasn't communicated, Sia, yes, it was great from Hamadi. He almost made it work, but it could have been that definite 100% it works.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also quite interesting looking at the position in which Shockwave finish up, right? Because we know points-wise, they took 3rd place with 11 elims, so that puts them on a grand total of 21 points. Essentially, 2nd place for the match ranking in the previous match, right? And now, this time around, they only managed to make it all the way up in towards that 15th position. We can see currently on screen with 1 elim to their name. So it does definitely do quite a bit of damage, or it does cause a little bit of pain, rather, right? Coming in to that leaderboard. But we've seen them be a team that can shock and awe, right? They can come in and they are heavy hitters, particularly over on Erangel. So I'm curious to see what is going to happen once these teams make their way through into the next map. Once again, over on towards Erangel, as you know, they'll have that opportunity to try and kind of now close out any of those potential gaps that we could see coming in on the leaderboard. So I think this last map is going to be... It's going to be absolutely brutal.
Oh, man, I like what you did there, dude. Shocking. Oh, man, we're coming back to it, coming to cheesy punchlines. But as you said, it's all up to them now. They got to, as you said, shock and awe and take out not only TJB, but also, I think, Sia, because these 2 teams, they're the ones here that are looking deadly. They're the ones here that, quite frankly, are in control, are in the driver's seat for taking that first position. You either take them out now, and as a team, either be it Shockwave or albeit be any other team that could take them out too. If you don't, then you were looking at, I think, 2 positions. These 2 teams, that's the final showdown. Can they step up in this final game?
Oh, yeah. And we'll have to wait until we get into that final map to see. I mean, hopefully that is exactly what they're going to be doing. Stepping up, bringing in, keeping that focus on the, on the prize. And for this time, there's only one prize. It is going to be that pole position. So I think we are going to be seeing quite a bit of fighting coming in this last match already. The first map being the indicator on that. We saw some heavy plays coming through there. But I got to say, I'm looking forward to seeing what our final match of the day is going to bring to the table and to the battlefield. And of course, speaking of which, we are going to be hopping into a quick break to get everything ready for this final rumble, the final showdown, to see who are going to be our victors on today's event. So without further ado, if I remember to push all the right buttons, we'll see you guys back right after the break. Welcome back, guys. We're getting ready to move into our final match of the day. Now, we've been seeing quite a bit of action coming through with myself and good old Mr. Highland Wolf. Now, Wolf, we did see those results coming through as well. So let's have another look at them to trying to get an idea of, you know, what the current situation is with regards to these points.
Okay, let's get an idea. TJB, 45 points in the lead. That's what we're looking at right now, and 8 points only ahead of Sia. Now, Sia, that was a big knockdown that they got over TJB in the second game, taking them out in 4th position, getting second spot there for themselves. But I think what we really needed to look at here was actually that 3rd place team is Mist. Looking up now on that leaderboard, a massive second game for them when it came to finishing off so many of those teams with the zone, perfect control and the positioning for them. And as a result, they now could challenge TJB, but you are looking at a TJB that need to be eliminated straight away and with haste, because if TJB do what they did, where they play this slow game into phase 4, phase 5, DK, then they pick up another quadra kill with Lin like they did in the second match. Oh, they are going to run away with that leaderboard and that prize pool.
Yeah, but I mean, looking at the positions just below TJB, right? 37, 30, 22, 20, 19, right? If we see some pretty hard-hitting plays coming through there, we could maybe.
Oh, we're looking at hard. We're looking at hard plays.
Yeah, it is going to be absolutely brutal. I mean, like if Yonkers, for instance, or even La Familia want to get the job done, they need to bring in at least a 30-pointer ahead of the other teams above them, you know. And
yeah,
I'm not sure whether or not that's going to be a play, but I mean, Myths, as you said, Myths and Sai Esports, they could maybe be in the running, but I agree. They have to deal with the threat coming through from the side of TJB. So I'm expecting potentially a bit of a focus from the teams coming in towards the drop locations TJB likes to frequent.
Yeah. I think at TJB, we saw them clearly in that first game. They're playing towards that Gatka fields. Now, here's the catcher. TJB played a mind game, and now that everyone thinks they're going to go into the rest of Gatka fields, do they go elsewhere? Do they drop to maybe towards that northern side where we saw no one go? Do we drop towards maybe the quarry side? Is close to, again, where we said they dropped to Gatka fields north and south of that respective location. But I think that dropping inside of that Gatka fields and dropping so dangerously with that 4-1 split that TJB had in that first game, it worked for them when they had the unexpected news from the other teams. It was new, it was fresh. Teams didn't think that they would, but now teams know that's the way they play. And I, as we said, expect some of these squads, particularly I would keep my eye on Sue and Mist to see if they can try to hot drop onto TJB. This playing path is going to be a northern one, so we aren't going to see, I think, a lot of these teams who love their South Island actually going to have to drop elsewhere. Now, as we mentioned, Georgia Pole completely untaken, shooting range completely untaken, Savoni, all of these northern sides that are now available very comfortably to these teams. Do they get taken up now that we don't see the South Island in play?
Ooh. That's going to be a question that I think will be answered at some point within the next few moments, as we do see a nice strong concentration of teams, of course, starting it off over on towards that eastern side. We do see teams heading north, but a nice chunk of teams also heading straight up in towards Lipovka. I mean, even the players there for Kurdistan are going to be pushing their way straight down in and not even wasting a single moment, looking to get into a bit of a dominating play. They're looking to potentially catapult themselves up, but will they be able to do it? Because we currently see them sitting all the way down in that 11th place.
And the 100, it had to be a British team where we went to Lipovka. Now, this is pretty UK of us. If we're going to have a UK team drop down to Lipovka, we look back to, I think, the likes of really Rescue continuously through 2021 would drop in this location, Lackanoster MVP as well, and be punished for it, the 100. We saw him punished before by this exact team for Romanian boys, and I am worried now that we see the 100 again fall out of contention early. A similar, though, zone here for the first phase, considering to the playing path is going to be quite nice for a lot of these teams, though, who, again, you look towards TJB in that center position. You are seeing some more congestion towards TJB, and I think that is why you also see a TJB very much closer together. They're not going for that ultra-wide square formation. They are sticking to more of a triangular 3-1 split. And to the rest, though, I think that you are seeing, well, now, that northern end, that could be, again, that rotation point that you're talking about. Because are there going to be these northern teams that we see taking up those roads, taking up that pathway in? Because you're looking at maybe a bit more of an efficient rotation in towards Everest. You're looking a bit more at that vision game, because we do see a lot more of these teams in around that northern and that western side.
Yeah. And already we see, again, a lot of the teams kind of concentrating themselves onto some very challenging kind of plays, right? We have the players for Kurdistan positioned all the way over on it towards this eastern side, up against the 100, as you've mentioned before. But we see that congestion continuing throughout the remainder of the map. I mean, even Pachinki is bringing along with it quite a bit of action, as we now have a look at both Lipovka and the Pachinki side. We got the players here from Nigma Gaming. Now just trying to hold on. Rauf feeling the pressure as those nades are getting sent on in. We do see Golden on the opposite end now, just lasering down on towards the 100, picking up that quick knock. Now trying to potentially maybe lure out Elisio and Daddy IGL from the compounds. We see them positioned in. But, I mean, this is a situation across the board. This kill feed is not going to be stopping anytime soon.
Well, for Kurdistan, that knock, again, when you look at the position at 100, they are fairly split, so it is going to slow them down, but it's not going to halt them completely. And I think that Golden, you're really looking towards that second knock. Can he find it onto Golden? That is the potential there for it. But now with Golden, of course, with the knock, gives their position away. You can see actually what the 100 are doing and should be doing is trying to locate a singular target and take them down. Because you need, if you're the 100, to open up some space here in Lipovka. You're facing towards the edge of the ocean side. You have the rest here of 4K for Kurdistan jumping on in, closing that gap slowly. And unless you make that move now, unless you are going to try to pinch out Golden in this middle position, or maybe look to go forward likes of Mortal, I believe should be should be ready of One Hook, who is going to be on that more side to the ocean. Maybe better try and contest onto them, but instead Golden is going to be the target. Won't get taken down. A second knock. There comes the third, though, into the stairway, and will finally grab it. There comes the fist down. 100. Not sure if they deserve that type of respect, though. Disrespect onto for Kurdistan, because they aren't quite done yet. In there, Alicio almost getting popped by one knock on the opposite end.
Yeah, one knock 90, keeping the pressure on, not letting them get out of the position just yet. But of course, we do see quite a lot of pressure spread out through the entirety of the map here. Not only do we have for Kurdistan, we've got several other teams fighting out over in it towards Gatka. We can see TJB now looking to roll up onto the players here from Miss. We also have right there up in the mix alongside them the players coming in from Nuclear Esports. And the kill feed is not stopping as the teams are just continuously hitting one after the other. But so far, an interesting approach, though, coming in from the players here for Kurdistan. Just riding the storm, trying to kind of just best their way on through it. I mean, on the opposite end, players there from TJB, again, getting super aggressive, but they've only been able to lose one player, so they are still retaining 3 players as those numbers keep on climbing, already sitting on 7 elims collectively for the team.
See, this is a thing with TJB, okay? When we go towards them here, it's just unfair for these teams in the Nigma Galaxy field, because you give away these kills, and TJB, they're now sitting over 50 points, and unless you are So you're going out and executing the entire lobby on your path to victory. TJB, they're running away with this game, and I think that on these edge of these fights, as much as they're pretty, 100, taking a 1-for-1 knock here with for Kurdistan, you aren't going to make an impact on that leaderboard. Is now on the opposite end, though. Still Giants Gaming in their own fight versus Nigma Galaxy for respect, for pride. But Giants, they shut them down. They sit them away and look for the second kill. But Pocus isn't quite there in time. Freak, they get past the end of the windowsill, and they will be able to survive for now. But down to, I believe, only that solo player.
Yeah, it is now, seems to be a 1v2 situation looking up in towards Pachinki, and it is going to be a 1v3 situation over in towards the Bufka. But look at this, the Giants now come rushing on forward. It is up to Ulysses to keep it all together, just trying to find the heads, the angles. Focus, of course, getting knocked right on down. Ulysses now rocking the shotties. That is a challenge in and of itself, and with that, the 100 now over in Lipovka come clean sweeping through, just cleaning out the region, but now they have to contend with the blue zone. Up comes the Giants, pressure as Pocus try to hold on, but oh man, they are not able to withstand those low health bars as Nigma Gaming come in and take Pachinki for themselves.
It is all in the positioning that you actually saw the downed member there of Nigma Gaming giving away that third party perspective. You have him, yes, behind the wall dying, but what he is giving through that windowsill is the positions that continuously there you saw the rest of the opposition trying to make. You saw Giants continuously up against the edge of that window. Yes, they thought they were free, there's no one going to shoot them, but you're giving that again conversation over towards the solo to get that double knock. Then they're able to find the outplay the moment they turn around with a drop down. Similarly with the 100, you are looking at just again a slight misposition, trying to reload when you are so low. Should have used that first aid kit and does rightly so get punished for it, and 100 take that extra kill. But to look at positioning more so on the whole of that map, you are looking at a very strong spot here for the rest of Enlighten. Now, coming up towards, really, as we said, that kind of almost essential part of the island, just a bit north of that coming into school, that is going to be a slow approach for, I believe, Enlighten. We're going to see a slow approach here for Romanian boys as well. And that is, I think, what we're going to see generally as well from the rest of these other players. I think this year, as much as they will be looking at that kill feed and seeing TGB absolutely pop off, you are also being very nervous at the fact that if you die, you are definitely out of contention. And it's why Sea have dropped all the way down into Primorsk. It's why they've made such a passive rotation. But the fact of it is that they do need to move further forward. And as TGB control the central position, I am now curious again, are we going to see what they did last time? Are we going to see them take now that passive move up towards the hillside, control that high ground, and punish everyone who enters in?
Well, that could definitely be quite a dominating play for them, and it wouldn't surprise me all too much, Ro. I mean, we've got the position for TJB coming in over in towards Katka, but we also then have the players there from the Black Dragons positioned up on towards Everest. So if the zone does pop in either of those directions, I think both these teams can really start popping off. But what's going to be even more challenging is going to be the pressure that is coming in over on towards that western side, as we do see the engagements there now as the players from Enlighten are looking to try and hold on. They, of course, are getting rushed as the Eastern Stars now continue to look to progress in, but also for Romanian boys, as you pointed out before, right here alongside them, and this could be quite an uncomfortable position now for Enlighten to find themselves in.
But Enlighten, they did give away the position, and actually as much as really for Romanian boys, give away the position to Enlighten, now they have to hold it. It's Enlighten that, yes, they had a knock against them, but they find a clean revive, and we are looking realistically now for Romanian boys. One member down, they're going to lose another as Trudel gets knocked. Nasty almost getting picked apart in the alleyway between the two buildings. There's also a third party, the 100 jumping in through from Lipovka. This could be the upset as quickly and decisively Enlighten are trying to rapidly push on to four Romanian boys, clean up the fight to stop this third party from doing any more damage.
Oh, but this is looking absolutely crazy, though. I mean, 4 Romanian boys down to Poco, looking to hold on to that top floor. The rush comes through, and Enlighten sends them backing right back up into the lobby. But of course, we got the players there from La Familia now looking to step on up with their own share of that aggression. We do see the players here from Shockwave right up ahead with that. Oh, it does seem like the graphics decided not for now, my friend. So we are going to be looking to We're right back, looking to rather hop straight back into the action. And we had a little bit of a gremlin coming in on the back end there. But either way, we are back. 3 teams left now, 6 players still alive. We have the players here from TJB now trying to hold on, going up against what is left of this map. And of course, as we can see, we have the players here from the fastPay Wildcats just getting sent on away. It is now going to be SYR, sir, now fighting for that controlling position.
Oh, but sir, but down to the final 2 teams. But we need the kills. Look at the kills on TJB. 10 fat ones coming in for this final game, and they don't look to be slowing down. They look to have this position in control. They got a high ground. I think this is now the closing for TJB into $150. They almost find Tam, but not quite. The airdrop does save him. And now Hamodi on the other side. We are down to 2. Look at the 8 kills. If he can snipe away every single one of TJB, it's only going to be, though, Hamodi to do it. And it's down to him. Can he clutch it up another time? Barely could not here in game 2. Game 3. Puts the smokes down. Gives away his position. Tam will be flushed out. There goes the extra kill. And Lin almost looking for the drive-through. Can he find him? Looks for the shots. Hamodi, 1, 2, 3, 4. Will not be able to get them. is down in TJB. $150 richer, DK, as they take the victory in this tournament, the 3 games of the finals, and they do it in, quite frankly, some style. Another big game for them and a chicken dinner that they were looking for.
Yeah, absolutely fire performance. At least we were able to find the final few plays coming into this match just to close it up. The Gremlins just backing off in the nick of time, but of course the players here from TJP not experiencing any of those Gremlins as they come with yet another heavy, hard-hitting performance.
Man, and hard was it. 9, 10, 12 kills. Talked about my maths, it's not good. That's why I'd count it individually, DK. But see you in second. I don't have to count that because they are no way going to be in first position in that overall leaderboard. Yes, they get 8 kills. It was actually a fairly good attempt from Sierra. I'm actually proud of where Sierra come from in these 3 games. They've shown that they can be consistent. It's unfortunate that they just cannot find the wrath of TJB a way around that. Is fastPay as well stepping up in third. We knew that they could be aggressive in game number 2. Their placement points, keeping him up with a 4th position finish, will bring him higher as well as miss. And you can see as well as even FALCON stepping in 4th and 5th position. And 6th, 7th, the rest of these teams, we go down. What unfortunately we did miss, that's the best that we can do. Technical issues do happen. We have to apologize, of course, for them. But unfortunately, you know, power surge go brr.
It is what it is, you know, it's just one of those things. But at least, you know, the teams, up until the point we could see them, were still playing some pretty tight games. I mean, we made it up onto that 4th phase. We still had like 10 teams left. So, you know, just since we quickly hopped away and came back in, we saw quite a big number of teams getting taken down. So that would mean it was the likes of the 100. We saw the players there from La Familia as well as Eastern Stars. We had the Black Dragons also getting sent off. It was, you know, action-packed all the way through. And unfortunately, we missed some of the action, but we made it back. Yes. We got into that chicken. We saw TJB stepping up, as you said, you know, just absolutely running away with the show once again. And that is, again, a very strong play from them. 12 kills finish, adding on top of their performance from the previous 2 matches. That just puts them, like, on a next level.
Yeah, I think that for sure you can talk about TJB, Lin, I think GK first. These 2 players, we knew from 2021, from Panda, they were aggressive. From Unicorns of Love, they were ultra aggressive. And now, even so, in 2022, continuing that aggressive style of play. And that's quite frankly the play that works out when you only have 3 games here, DK. You need these kills, and it does favor that play style for Lin and GK first. And you can see that they really did roll away, I think, from that first game, was the story that we were told through all 3 of these matches by them. Props, I think, to Nigma Galaxy, 6th position. You saw ED as well stepping in into that 7th position in that 3rd game, and we saw some life out of, I think, some of these teams that we weren't seeing life from in those first 2 matches. So it is plausible to them to see them actually step up when they needed to in that final game. Yes, they don't get the money, but at least they're putting themselves higher on that leaderboard and to prove that they can contest with some of the best.
Yeah, that was definitely a good show of talent coming through at the hand of them. But I mean, I gotta give it though to TJP. They were quite a formidable force to go up against. I mean, coming second in that first match, but finishing so heavily strong with the amount of elims they were able to brought in, already catapulted them up to the top of the leaderboard. Second map, they just kept on with the consistency. Third map, brought it home, came full circle, taking the chicken, and of course with that 12 elims to add on top. So yeah, without a doubt, a very impressive performance coming in there from TJP, and they are quite deserving of getting that $150 as the prize pool here for the day. But I gotta say, man, like even the players here from SYR, from SYR, they also just stepped it up. I mean, got the chicken on the first match, finished really strong in the second, and now coming into
Second
the
place,
third.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And I was
consistency
second.
is key.
I think that, to be fair, Sia, who were, yes, not going to come out with a victory to compare to TJB in their aggression and kills. When you talk about placement points, I actually think of it clearly, it is Sia who are the victors of that, at
Mm,
least. And I think that's something to be proud about. And I think that's
mm,
something to keep in mind as we go into not only to this small finals event, but into bigger competitions where we have a 3-week span, where we have the finals being 3 days long, potentially, as we have seen in previous formats on
mm.
2021. If we do
Yeah,
see the similar side in 2022, that's a format that favors so a lot more than these 3 games in the finals. If they have this consistency in these games and we can see that play through 3 weeks, 4 weeks long tournaments, that's when Sia are going to pop off. That's when
yeah,
Sia are going to have these high rounds, high scoring competitions. They're going to get the money through from there. And that's what it's all about, is
yeah.
consistency too. And to see that through from them, that's what we're looking for, quite
Mm.
frankly. Yes, you can be an aggressive player, and yes, you can be flashy like GK First and Lin. But unless you can copy that in with the placement points, you are missing out on 50% of the work.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that one. And I gotta say, just based on the plays that I've been seeing in the beginning of 2022, I think the competitive scene for this year is gonna be one for the books,
So
right?
much
It's gonna
higher.
be so
So much
so
higher.
high stake. I mean, already the level of teams coming through, the sheer improvement we've seen come through from the end of 2021, moving into just the early stages of 2022. It's almost light and day difference. Well, night and day difference coming in, just just based on how the teams have been hitting it out. I mean, they've gone through. We've seen teams come through from the Pmpl qualifiers. We've seen teams also just with absolutely phenomenal performances in the PMGC, also over in towards the PMECT, the European Community Tournament. And I mean, yeah, 2022, there is going to be a lot of action
Oh,
to
yeah,
keep
it's
your
gonna be
eyes on.
hype. That's what it's gonna be, DK. It's gonna be hype AF. Is what it's gonna be. Hype is frick, because quite frankly, if this is the level that
Mm,
we're seeing in a small tournament to be said compared to the enormity of a team's competing in PMGC, high stakes PMPL, mid-season invitationals, what's that
mm,
level going to be like? How high is that going to be set then, that bar, as you said? Because I think teams are going to have to come in with
mm.
a lot more oomph. They're going to have to come in with a lot more skill to be able to
Yeah,
take down some of these players, some of these teams. And I think we see that already in some of these older rosters. Like,
mm,
for example, I think Eastern Stars not performing like they should have in these finals.
mm.
La Familia, also one of these teams who are improving, but need that little bit extra, as we said, to be able to make it up to the top of that lead.
Yeah. So what makes this for me so exciting is that the teams now have an opportunity to play against other teams that they've not necessarily had the
Yeah.
opportunity of playing before, right? And I think that in and of itself cultivates a absolutely insane level of skill being having to be put on the front line. Because if you want to kind of rub shoulders with a team, for instance, like TJB, right, you have to
Yeah.
step it up, right? And this
Yeah.
kind of this tournament gives the teams a good idea of not exactly where they are, because I don't think everyone's playing full out, right? Like, I'm pretty sure there's a few teams keeping a few tricks up their sleeve, right? But it is either way still a very good platform for teams to get that kind of situational play, and just
Yeah.
to kind of figure out where they kind of are, because you're not going to get a 100% clear answer until you actually meet on the competitive battlefield. But you can get a good amount of information come through still, either which way.
Yeah, I think that's what we have to keep in mind, is what are these initial first looks at some of these teams. And you speak to, I think, some of these plays coming through from Nigma, coming through from the 100, even fastPay Wildcats, right? In their second game, they stepped up with a massive amount of kills. They took out a big lead there. They came out in third position in on game 3. So we know that there are some of these new dogs in town for 2022 that are going to step up. And I think that is the story that we are getting in 2022, is the revolution of these newer players, of these newer squads coming up to party.
Well, revolution, evolution, everything is just busy going on the up and up. We also do have our results that have come through.
Cool.
Unfortunately, due to the gremlins, I cannot show them on the stream at the moment. I can show you what they were, but I can't show you what they are. We have them, of course, come through. I can see the results. I just can't, you know, display them currently.
Magic
yeah, it happens. It happens when some of the screens just kind of go out. You know, it's fun.
When the gremlins, they bite your screens off. Is that what happens?
Yes, no. they bit at least one of them off. So, and it's the important one with where the results are on. But it's okay. It's okay. All right. So we're gonna read this to you. Some of it, but of course, to get a clear picture of what the exact results are, you can also have a look on the MEA Esports Discord server, as well as on social media. I'm pretty sure it will be up all over the place. But no surprise, TJB stealing the show, as we've kind of alluded to already, finishing strong on 72 total points, 37 of those being eliminations, and 35 out of the 72 being their placement points. But I mean, if we look at the players from SIR coming in with their own performance, they came in with 39 placement points, which is actually higher than what we see from the players there of TJB. But unfortunately, TJB just being such a heavy hitter team in this event, just stealing the show and, you know, taking away the victory.
Yeah, I think 57 points still pretty admirable for them. You saw that there's a big drop-off because a lot of these points got sponged up by TJB and SIR, so missing 40 points there, 24 placement, 16 kill points, should I say, there respectively. And then you've got the side of Yonkers in 29 points there in 4th, so another big drop-off to La Familia in 5th. 6th position being Shockwave with 25, fastPay Wildcats with 24, and then Storm Gaming for Kurdistan 16, 11 points. You're heading into the 10 single-digit rounds for those of Conqueror IRAQ in 11th position to Nuclear Esports in 19th. But as we said, though, DK, for all those results, if you want to find out exactly where every team placed, you can find it on the MEA Esports Discord server and also on their social media. That is where you got to go to find it. And of course, what a beautiful day it has been, though, to be fair. And I'm very excited to see what not only some of these teams up at the top, but some of these teams down on the bottom that we didn't talk about yet. But you've got to go discover for yourself on their social media what they can do as well in the future.
Yeah, so be sure to go show some love over on it towards the MEA Esports social medias and Discord, as we've alluded to. But on that, I think it is going to be a good night from us for now. We know the teams are, of course, hopping over into yet another tournament. There is non-stop preparation, non-stop action, and we can see that being pretty evident looking at how these teams are performing on the battlefield. Of course, a big thank you going out to all the teams for participating, pitching up, and giving us some very entertaining PUBG gameplay. Of course, big shout out to everyone that tuned in to watch. I don't want to say thank you to the Gremlins for doing what they did, but you know what? It's part of those things. Also, I got to thank you, Wolf, as well. Thank you so much for co-casting here with me today. And, you know, somehow we got to break the mold and get, you know, 2022 off to a strong start.
Oh, yeah, we do. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We will see you guys in the next one. Have a good evening.
All right, guys, stay safe. And if you haven't yet, click the subscribe button down below, please. Please, if you don't mind. I mean, even Wolf will approve of that. As you can see him all smiles.
If you do it one less gremlin, that's what it does. It keeps the gremlins away. One subscribe day keeps the gremlins away. That's what it is.
But there we go, guys. Have a fantastic evening. See you all in the next one. And of course, stay safe.